Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com. Your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. The Off the Hook podcast at offthehooksports.com or Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you go for your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Off the Hook with Dave Hooker starts now.
With Amanda LaFratta and Ethan Stone, I'm Dave Hooker. We're off and running on this Thursday or whenever you are listening and or watching. I want to thank our recent subscribers to YouTube. Had a little boost there over the last couple 24 hours, so we appreciate you. Set your notifications, whether it's YouTube or Twitter on. We got all kinds of great content coming today from Josh Ward, John Adams of the Knoxville News Sentinel, and then Josh, of course, of the Sports Animal, and of great content on offthehooksports.com. So we're looking forward to that. We have a big show today with Mike Farrell, who's known as the godfather of recruiting. So we'll have all kinds of good recruiting questions for him. And then Tennessee with an unprecedented feat that we will address. Again, set your notifications on, subscribe to YouTube, and you're in like flan. Amanda, how are you this morning? You look a little tired, but you're powering through. Like, you don't look tired. You told me you were tired. You look gorgeous. Sorry, I don't know what and nobody can see that if they're listening on audio. What is
It's the Friends.
Forearms.
It's the Friends version of flipping people off. We
Oh.
talked about this.
Oh, that's right. Maybe perhaps Ethan. That's what Tennessee should have done, rounding second instead of the one finger salute.
Yeah, I guess it would get the job done the same way, but yeah,
it would kind of
be a little harder for him to do. I feel like, but
for those just listening to audio, it's like two forearms put together. I didn't watch Friends. Yeah, the fist. I didn't watch it. Friends is awful. Friends is just awful. You know what Friends was? You know what Friends was? Friends was time to go to the liquor store after Seinfeld was over and let my wife and my best friend's girlfriend watch Friends. That's what Friends meant. Meant let's go to the liquor store. Jim Beam time.
That sounds healthy. Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, it's Thursday night. It's not like you had to drive a church bus full of kids in the morning. But anyway, so
I don't even know what that means. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're a bus driver and a kid comes up to you and says, "You smell just like my daddy, cigarettes and alcohol," then you probably didn't get enough sleep the night before. But nevertheless, that was a long time ago. Many moons. But Tennessee, congratulations to them. They win the All Sports Award. Now, for the nerds among us, you could have done that in your head, calculated it. But Ethan, it is a significant accomplishment. But first, good morning. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm good. I'm great.
Good. Well,
not much to report, really. It's just a random Thursday in June, so there's not much to report.
Well, I do think the All Sport trophy is really significant. It's the first time they've ever won it. Now, it's given away by USA Today, so it's not like it's been given away since like 1920. So, but it's the first time they've won it in the SEC. Pretty impressive feat for a program that has seemed cursed in a number of ways for the past 15 years.
Yeah, and I mean football definitely, and in other ways, if you really take a while to think about it, Tennessee is good at everything, even football. Football, they're not terrible. They haven't been the worst team in the country in the past couple of years. Now, they haven't been up to Tennessee standards of what people want them to be from, 80s, 90s, fill in the blank, whenever you want to, Tennessee football. But they've been serviceable. The basketball team just won an SEC title. The baseball team was the number one team in the country for most of the season. We can go into the little small sports, too. Rugby won the national championship this year. Everything is doing well right now in Rocky Top, and it's a deserving award, in my opinion.
Go ahead and click on that like button or subscribe now and comment, and we will get to your questions on the very next show. So, Amanda, ultimately, though, you can win the All Sports Trophy, and that's nice, but football is king. I mean, if you're doing the spreadsheet, that's probably 70% of it, 10% men's basketball, 20% everything else. I mean,
I feel like this is a consolation prize. I'm not gonna lie.
no, I can roll with that. I mean, I think it's a sign of a good
Yeah.
organization, but ultimately, you'd rather be in Atlanta and get beat 40-0 in the SEC championship game than win this thing, right?
I don't know if you'd rather get beat 40-0. I don't think you'd ever rather get beat 40-0, but I feel like this is a consolation prize. It's like you didn't make it super far in the NCAA tournament in basketball. You didn't make it in football to the SEC championship, or much less the playoffs. Your baseball team didn't make it to Omaha. Here's your consolation prize. I just feel like
It does
that's
fit
where
the
it's going.
timing. Yeah, the timing definitely feels like
Yeah.
that. I think because of the baseball team. But let me ask you this, Amanda. So we're going to weigh heavily in our off the hook sports rankings. We're going to weigh football more heavily. How heavily in your mind? That's up to you. Okay. So there's no wrong answer here for both you guys. But can we all agree that Alabama and Georgia had a better year? I don't care what they did in any other sport. They both won a championship. Okay. So they're better as an athletic department than Tennessee. Would anybody argue that?
No.
Ethan looks like he may want to argue that.
I mean, if you're talking football, only
Well,
football, yeah. If you're saying that football is way more, athletic department as a whole, there's a lot more sports than football. Georgia was pretty terrible at everything else.
Revenue.
that's true.
Let's go with
Well,
revenue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
if you're talking Evan, yeah, absolutely,
Revenue.
I would agree with that. Absolutely, I would agree with that. If that's what you're talking, if you're talking the entire athletic department, how they all did at once. I mean, Alabama maybe, Georgia absolutely not though.
you wouldn't take Georgia, even with a national title. You wouldn't take their
Well, I
previous
mean,
year.
revenue, yes, yeah,
Okay.
revenue. Both Alabama and Georgia definitely had a better year. I would agree with that.
And I'll be the first to tell you, okay, I don't know how Georgia's non-revenue sports are doing, okay? I don't. I know Tennessee is very good in tennis. Tennessee is very good in golf. They've raised the level of play in non-revenue sports. So I'm gonna say Alabama, Georgia, and Ethan seems like he's a little split there, but nevertheless, it gives us a kind of a starting point to jump off. What other program would you say had a better athletic year and is in better shape? And I want to include Texas and Oklahoma in this because they'll be in the SEC. What programs do you say hands down they are in better shape? Ethan, let me start with you. I have trouble finding a lock.
Well, I mean, this question just seems like which team had a better football program to me.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. If Georgia had, if I would weigh basketball and baseball and women's basketball more heavily if you didn't have a national title. So if you have a national title in football or you have an SEC title, yes, me personally, I'm going to rank you ahead. You may differ there, but after that, I'm open. I mean, I think that we could sit here and make an argument that Tennessee's the number 3 athletic department in the country. You might make number 2 since you like them over Georgia. Amanda, is there anybody else that you would definitely have above Tennessee? Texas A&M and Texas have a ton of money.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, how were they in hoops last year, Ethan?
Not good.
They were
7
okay,
in the
not
Big 12.
great. Yeah, not
No,
great.
they weren't
but
great and I'm not saying in basketball they were great, but look at their softball, look at their baseball, look at their football.
Fair.
And I
Add those
mean,
all together.
basketball was not bad by any means. Like they're not the worst team in the Big 12. They were just a team kind of.
But if you look at how dominant they were, you know, in
I could get on top of Oklahoma. I think
in
she might be
football
right.
and I would just go with that. I would go with Oklahoma. I would also look at Ohio State. I would look that way.
Just SEC teams.
Oh, just SEC teams. Okay,
Yeah.
then Oklahoma. I'd go with Oklahoma.
Okay, what about Texas? I'm just going to be frank with you. I've talked to a lot of people in coaching circles here recently. I'm not sold on Steve Sarkisian, and it has nothing to do with the drinking problem he had at Southern California. I'm just not completely sold. He's recruiting like there's no tomorrow, but how do you? I mean, you still lost 7 games at Texas. I mean,
But
that's
didn't
kind of.
wasn't he the offensive coordinator at, if I'm not mistaken, at the Falcons?
He was the offensive coordinator for the Falcons. He was the
For,
offensive coordinator for Alabama.
well,
Yeah.
obviously that, but the Falcons, I know, and he didn't do so hot. He had Matty Ice, and well, that's another story for another day. But as to
And he and I were just born 3 days apart, so there's that.
Wow.
So figured out. I don't know, man. It's hard for me to get on board and say that Texas had a great year or is in great shape in football. Well, they certainly didn't have a great year when you lose 7 games. I mean, it's difficult to lose 7 games at Texas. You've almost got to try.
That's why I don't understand the move to the SEC. When you're Texas,
it's just going to get harder.
Yes, exactly. Like in the Big 12, if you are Texas or Oklahoma, you're almost guaranteed to, if you do well, maybe you lose 1 game, you're almost guaranteed to make it to the playoffs. You come to the SEC as as Texas losing 7 games last season, you come to the SEC. Why? Why would you do that to yourself? Why?
Yeah, Ethan, these are the type of teams that are going to replace losses when Texas finally makes it to the SEC. So Baylor was ranked at the time. They go to Baylor and lose. They go to Oklahoma State and lose, but Oklahoma State was ranked. So there's no, I'm sorry, that game was at Texas. But there's nothing wrong with losing those 2 games. I understand that. They lost at Arkansas. Arkansas is a good, solid football team that's tough to prepare for because they like to run the football. But then you got at Iowa State, home to Kansas, at West Virginia. You lose those. So those are going to be replaced by the Ole Misses of the world, the Mississippi States of the world, the LSUs of the world, the Auburns of the world, sans Brian Harsin.
Sneaky. They're sneaky.
Well, they'll be sneaky. They'll be sneaky when they get rid of Brian Harsin. But
they're sneaky.
I mean, guys, I don't feel good about Texas going much better than 6 wins next year, and we'll see what Arch and these new guys are able to do. But losing 7 games at Texas is difficult, Ethan.
Yeah, next year's going to be tough again. I agree with that. I think in a couple years, especially with Arch, I feel like recruiting is not done for Texas. It's kind of the same thing that people thought when Nico came to Tennessee. Texas is going to keep getting brand image, I feel like, just from Arch alone. And I think that's ultimately what they care about more than anything else right now is brand image. In the Big 12, you can't be as shiny and polished as you can in the SEC. You have the path every single year in the SEC. In the Big 12, you usually have a path. But the SEC, they're the big boys. And so if you're going up against Alabama, if you're going up against Ole Miss this last season, if you're going up against LSU from 2019, every year there's going to be a team like that. And if you can beat them, you're going to be a top 5 team in the nation. And I think Texas sees, hey, the only way to get truly back is to build our brand image up right now, because right now we look like a laughingstock.
It's going to look even worse in the SEC if you look like a laughingstock in the Big 12. I mean, I don't understand it. Why wouldn't you just want to wait till the playoffs? Play all of these, your Baylors of the world and your Texas Techs of the world. Wait till you get to the playoffs to face the Alabama or the LSUs or whoever, Georgia's. Wait till you get there to get beat like a drum instead of doing it during the regular season. Like,
what about Oklahoma, though?
They
moved because of Oklahoma, in my opinion. They moved because they're a package deal, and Oklahoma can absolutely compete right now. Probably not at the very top of the SEC, but they can compete. In Texas, they think they can compete. They've thought they're bag for the past 5 years.
Yeah, but
I think
they're not. But
it's one team in the Big 12 versus 4 or 5 in the SEC.
I think they ultimately made the move because of money. Both
Yeah,
teams.
yeah.
Yeah, but I would say
Texas.
this to Amanda's point. That is exactly what Bobby Bowden said back in 1992 when the SEC picked up South Carolina, Arkansas. They tried to get Florida State, and Bobby Bowden, in a time that you keep everything to yourself, he was just so open. It was, not going to. I don't know why I'm doing a Steve Spurrier impression, but he's like, no, I'm not going to the SEC. There's no point. And really, there is no point. You get in
Exactly.
the playoffs now, you may get your brains beat in anyway, but Texas could have been like Florida State. Now, the question is that ultimately, though, if you don't link up with the SEC pretty quickly, like today, are you going to get left out of the super conference? It's
With
hard for me to.
Texas.
That's the
No.
point
It's
that I
hard.
was trying to make that I did not make
Yeah.
very well. Is you want to be a part of the big boys, or the train's going to leave the station. I mean, the Big 12 is already a shadow of its former self, in my opinion.
But
It's hard. Well, Amanda, I think, was alluding to it's hard to imagine leaving Texas out of a super conference. Agreed.
it's like Notre
But
Dame.
yeah, but what if Notre Dame's on the outside looking in?
They're not gonna
Because
be.
Yeah.
They're not
but
ever gonna
they
be.
but they haven't agreed to affiliate with any conference. So if they have this super division, they're going to have they want to schedule the USCs of the world and all those different schools and have fun and all that. And I get that, and it's cool. They've got a great thing going. Good for you. You're the hottest girl in class and the smartest girl in class. Great, but that's not going to last. I mean, I just don't
It's
see
done
that
so
lasting.
far. It's
Are you
it's
talking for
gone
Notre
that way
Dame?
so far. Yeah, it's Notre Dame.
Yeah, I
Well,
think it will just because of the Catholic thing. I mean, Catholics are forever going to be in the U.S. So the really good Catholic players are going to want to go to the Catholic school.
I guess what I'm saying won't last is they're either going to have to give and join the super conference, or they're going to stick by their guns and hope they can get in some sort of playoff as an at large. I don't know, but something's got to give there. I mean, if they're going to be a part of the super conference, which is going to happen, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened by the time Texas and Oklahoma in 2025 enter the SEC. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Check out our friends at Big Orange Phillies over the weekend. It's a great place to watch sports and a great place for your family. If you're listening during lunchtime, they've got the quick bites. They know it's tough to get out of the office for a long lunch, so they're good at getting you quality food fast. You can grab something from the fridge or order hot food from the counter. Casual shouldn't mean stale food options. They have it all at Big Orange Phillies right there in the middle of Halls, convenient to Maynardville and North Knoxville. So check them out. They've just got it all. They've got billiards, they've got darts, they've got ping pong coming up shortly. So they bring you some of the top news of the day, and a guy that I just wanted to run by you because for those that don't really know Ethan yet, Ethan is a college basketball savant. So he knows his hoops. Aaron Bradshaw, one of Kentucky's top 2023 targets, said he's leaning toward playing college basketball. In May, he included the G League as one of his final options. Well, what have we seen change? We've seen guys get better than G League money in college. So I'm sure that's a factor. I'd rather go to Kentucky and make $1 million for a year than go to the G League and make 45,000 and be treated like a schlub. But do you know much about him? He's a 7-footer. Nobody plays with their back to the basket anymore. Might he be that rare one, Ethan, or what do you know about Aaron Bradshaw? Do we still have Ethan? Ethan?
Oh,
We
he
lost
cut
it.
out.
Ethan's gotten
My
muted.
There
we go.
We're all good. My connection got really bad for a second. I don't know what just happened.
Okay.
You
So
got
One thing I
fuzzy.
took, the one thing I took from what you were saying is the G League had its shine for maybe a year and a half, and then it died because there was all this talk that no one's ever going to go stay in college because the G League is just a better alternative here, and that lasted for about a year and a half, and NIL became a thing. And like you said, you can make, I mean, think of a number as many times as money just staying in college, going to a big program like Kentucky than you would going to the G League. And for this guy Bradshaw, I believe he's the number 2 center in the nation, 2023, number 2 or number 4. Either way, he's good. 7-foot guy, has offers from just about any school you can imagine, but is picking between Kentucky, I think Penn State, Maryland, Michigan. all those big schools like that. And obviously Kentucky, I believe, is his lean. He said the other day that he was leaning towards college for the reasons that Dave said, why wouldn't you lean towards college? From New Jersey, I think he's going to be a really, really solid player, and I think he's going to follow through on that promise. Likely going to be a guy that terrorizes Tennessee at Kentucky for years to come. That's what I would bet.
Well, you would think, well, okay, you've just warped my brain. So if a guy like Nico is worth $8 million to be a 3-year starter, what's a kid like this that's a top 5 basketball prospect that we know can have a bigger impact on that team? And you've got big time money at places like Kentucky and Duke that are dedicated to basketball. 8 million is like the starting point if you're a top 5 player.
North Carolina.
North Carolina, yeah, Kansas, whatever.
Sorry, I gotta call that out.
Sure. I mean, there are those blue bloods that could pony up that money, and then I could make a strong argument it's worth it because they're more likely, we've seen, to have success than highly rated football guys. And also you can have a bigger impact on your team because there's fewer players. 20 million, Ethan? Is that crazy?
In college basketball, I would say yes. I would not bet they'd be paying 20. I also, and it might play to this guy specifically, I saw a quote the other day that said a big reason why, and this could be a total lie, so I don't know, just hold me accountable if you want to. But he said a major reason he wants to stay is because he wants his degree. And you don't hear that from a lot of college players. You don't hear that from a lot of college players. If that's true, which I'm still about 50-50 on that even being true, just because I feel like a lot of them say that. Josiah Jordan-James is the only 5-star I can remember that is going to stay all 4 years. But, that's good for him. For if he's truly thinking about that, that's good for him.
As far as some other news quickly, and then we're going to get to Mike Farrell, Tim Elko will have a statue, according to the Ole Miss athletic director. We'll see. He says we're going to make it happen. Ask about the statue. And again, that seems like a lot. Of course, they had a good season. That's great. Elko, he had a April ACL tear and was the Oxford Regional MVP. And the 2022 postseason first baseman was the Coral Gables Regional MVP, had 24 home runs. He's great. Ole Miss had a fantastic season. I get that they won a championship, but I don't know. It's Elko statue time even.
I really don't hate it, as you were saying it. I don't hate it. Ole Miss, I mean, if they were the best team in the nation this year and they go in and they just trounce everybody in Omaha and they win the whole thing, absolutely not. You got to remember, Ole Miss was the worst team by the committee standards, the worst team in the field, 64-64. And Elko was the dude that they started to catch fire as it got along. Elko was the guy that was solid the entire time, maybe along with Dylan DeLucia, one of their pitchers. And I mean, Elko was the fire for the entire thing. And a statue is still a little weird to me, but I don't hate it. I really don't.
How do you pick out one player? How do you do that?
Because he's the guy he's the guy that carried him the regular season. He's the guy that played very well in the postseason to get him to that point. I mean, the games, by many ways, he was the one that was putting him over the top. I mean, he's the senior guy, he's the team captain. He's the dude leading them, and he's been their superstar all season. Now, I mean, statue's a little extreme, I get it, but I really don't hate it because you only save the statues, I feel like, for the seasons that are just incredible. And this, what a story.
Yeah, I love statues because I don't like retiring numbers. Well, I don't like retiring numbers.
So, I mean, they have to be selective. You can't just give everybody a statue, and that I will grant you that. But
why not? I think, I'll be honest with you,
it becomes not special.
I think Philip Fulmer and Al Wilson should have a statue around Neyland Stadium.
You really think Philip Fulmer, that would be a big old statue?
Well, see, I mean, Pat Summitt deserves a freaking statue. Anyone else?
That's fair.
She's got
maybe Peyton Manning. He wasn't the best quarterback in football history in college. He was just a very good quarterback, and he became one of the best, quarterbacks in football history. Even Peyton Manning, I'd think. I mean, Neyland obviously gets one. I could see Manning getting one, but Tennessee Athletics, that's about it.
I think if you win a national championship, you should get a statue. And you talk about
everyone should get a statue on that team.
No, not everyone, but I definitely think Philip Fulmer should have one.
I see what Amanda is saying, though. I mean, does Joe Flacco deserve a statue? Is Joe Flacco elite?
I mean, come on, Joe Flacco.
If it's Alabama, then how many statues are you going to have just from
they've
the
got the
Saban era?
They've got the Saban statue where he's 6 foot, which is about an 8-inch lie.
If you ever go to Bryant-Denny, they do have a line of statues heading into the stadium.
No, I've been there many a time. I went to school there. Coaches have statues.
Yeah.
Individual players, that's a whole different ball game. Because if you're going to do that, if you're going to have an individual player statue, then you're setting a precedent here. So if you have that statue for this season, say you have somebody that comes out next season and just kills it. I mean, just stats to the, everywhere. You're going to make a statue for them? And then the next season, there's somebody else, statues everywhere. Like, what are you going to, you're going to have no greenery on your.
Now we're talking landscaping. We got to get this thing under control. Tell us about Zool Beer before we get to Mike Farrell. Zool Beer Company downtown is awesome.
Well, there are no statues there. I'm going to let you know. Though there is a gold medal on the wall plaque from the World Beer Cup where we won for Rhymes Like Dimes, Hazy IPA. We're sold out of that now. But they just came out with this fluffy strawberry pillow IPA. I do not like IPAs. I like this IPA.
Saying something. I've tried to get her to drink more than one in my lifetime. So back in 2 minutes, we'll talk with Mike Farrell, talking some Cruton right after this. Stay tuned.
It's Gary Viles here, Viles Automotive on Callahan Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Viles Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
If you're looking for something to do this weekend, I would highly suggest, if you're in the Chattanooga area, check out Pettigo. Pettigo is unbelievable when it comes to getting around town with an electric bicycle that can up and zoom as well. That's pretty cool. Again, Pettigo, I know they have a location in Knoxville as well, so check them out. You can rent them, tour around, have a good time. I highly recommend considering purchasing one. So we certainly appreciate them. So Mike Farrell will join us here momentarily, and I'll be curious to ask him the same question. So in the end, our poll question is, what athletic department had a better year than Tennessee who won the All Sports Trophy? Do you like that, Ethan? Ethan's our poll master, which sounds weird.
Only question I would have is how would we post that? Like, would we say Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, other? Because you only get 4.
Thank God I'm
Well,
not the poll master, because that would
Yeah.
sound very weird.
Yeah, who would you take over? Who would you take over Tennessee? What year would you? So we've got Alabama, Georgia; those are 2. And then what do we want to add in there for the other 2?
Oklahoma. Who was the one we went back and forth on?
Went back and forth on
Texas,
kind of.
Well, I would go A&M.
Ohio State. Or are you talking SEC only?
Just
Yeah,
SEC.
Texas.
pending
then.
SEC schools.
Ooh, you could do Florida. Do you remember when Florida had are we doing in history or are we just doing this season?
Just this season, I would guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
What past year would you trade? So Alabama, Georgia, and who else?
I'd say
Why don't we make third other comment below?
Oh, I
So
think
we're gonna do
Oklahoma
3?
should be third.
Yeah, I think we should do Oklahoma and then other.
And then
All right.
4 can be other, because
Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma makes a decent point.
Thank you. If you're talking about in history, though, you would have to go back to the Florida when they won basketball and football. Do you remember that? I can't remember when like 2008 maybe?
Love it. So our poll question again is
With Tim Tebow.
What past
Sorry.
academic year from an athletic standpoint would you take over Tennessee, who just won the All SEC Trophy, All Sports Trophy? Poll question brought to you today by Craft Treats. Craft Treats has the Chill Pills full spectrum CBD treat, contains minor cannabinoids that increase the benefits of CBD. Great for situational anxiety, storm anxiety, car ride anxiety. We had visiting pet dog anxiety yesterday, so we had 2 pets going at it. So I took care of them with Craft Treats. They can take care of you. CraftTreats.com. Mike Farrell joins us now. The godfather of recruiting is what he's long been known as, and he's doing his own thing now, which I would highly recommend you check out. It's a pretty exciting time to be Mike, and all you have to do is go to MikeFarrellSports.com, MikeFarrellSports.com. He covers recruiting like no one else, and he has for a number of years. Mike, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm well. So you've got this. You got the site. You're up and running. Tell us more about it. What you're going to provide to consumers on a daily basis.
Well, right now the plan is recruiting coverage to the portal, to college football, to the NFL draft. So we're going to be doing all that sort of stuff. It's still a work in progress. There's so much to cover in all 4 of those areas. So still building out staff, but traffic's improving on it, and social media has been great. So it's exciting to be independent finally.
Yeah, it is in more than one way. So you had instant impact freshman for 2022. That's something I want to talk about. I want to get your thoughts on Tennessee recruiting as well. I'll remind everybody to like and subscribe on YouTube. But let's start with the instant impact freshman for 2022. I think it was done by Timothy Bailey, but some guys on there that aren't in the SEC quite yet, but one that will be soon. If you just kind of talk about that list and how you see those guys shaking out.
Well, it's funny because I do have, my own list, and then I've got my writer's list, and we always argue a little bit about it. So he's a Big 12 guy. So as you can see, there's obviously some Big 12 guys on that list there. For me, the SEC, when I look at the impact freshman, because he's got Javonte Barnes from Oklahoma, and he's going to be a tremendous running back, and he will impact the SEC in a couple of years. But when I was doing it by position, I was trying to find who could be a freshman quarterback in the SEC that could impact. That was very difficult to find. Then I was trying to find, running backs, and the running back rooms are so loaded It was difficult to find those guys too. So I think it's going to be the defensive side of the ball where you're going to see guys impact at schools like Tennessee, at schools like Alabama. Even though Alabama's loaded on defense, there's going to be a couple of true freshmen there, I think, that have an ability to impact. And Tennessee, with that recruiting class they got last year and obviously hitting the transfer portal, they need help on defense. They could put up 50 points a game, but they need some of these guys, some of these highly rated guys, perhaps a James Pierce, from North Carolina off the edge, Tyree West in the middle, big 6'5", 290-pound defensive tackle. Need some of these guys to step up and mature very quickly and impact that defense.
Who do you have as like a dark horse, not just on Tennessee, because this is a kind of Tennessee-centered show, on Tennessee and just the SEC in general? Who's your dark horse guy to come up and lead a team?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be guys you've never heard of that I think are going to impact. Christian Harrison from College Park, Georgia, he's a big D-back. He's a mid-range 3-star. Nobody pays attention to those guys anymore. But they need defensive back help. They need help on the back end there. They got 3 guys with size, but he's the biggest one. The big question will be, can he come in and be, agile enough? Can he pick up the speed of the game to make an impact? But he's got a tremendous wingspan. He's very, very long. And that's the type of kid that I think, Tennessee fans have heard of because he's in their class. Nobody else has heard of, and he could be sort of a surprise guy.
I want to ask you about a couple of guys and who you would prefer from a purely recruiting perspective. We'll save the evaluation part of it. Arch Manning, you have a big name, and we have seen this week people fall in line and commit with him to Texas. Nico Iamaleava, and I've been practicing that, Mike. Nico has been actively recruiting, and maybe Arch has too. But just from the impact of one name perspective and the other one that lives on social media and tries to recruit, as a program, which would you rather have to hang your recruiting hat on?
It's Arch. I mean, because of the last name, he doesn't have to post anything on social media. He doesn't have to reach out to anybody. It's just the last name itself. I mean, you look at the commitments that Texas has received since then. 4 offensive linemen have committed. He committed a week ago tomorrow. And it's already been close to double-digit commitments. Now, a lot of these guys were lined up, of course, and this is a plan, like all recruiting is a plan. But to get a Jonte Cook at wide receiver, as a dynamic slot guy, to get a big receiver like Jonah Wilson, even a defensive back like Derek Williams, who's a 5-star kid on many sites, is like that's different level for Texas than what we saw before Arch. So, Nico's great. He's got a high ceiling. I think he's further from his ceiling than Arch. I think Arch has kind of, played a low level of competition. He'll have a better season this year, but we might have seen what we're going to see from Arch. But I would rather have the name Manning in my class.
Going off of that, I know the name Manning definitely helps the recruiting. But how much do you think the NIL has affected it over like the names or the coaches or what have you? How much do you think NIL has affected recruiting? Do you think it's more than the names and the coaches, or do you think that played the fairly even role?
It's a part of it now. I mean, obviously the questions that kids have when they get on campus is, what money can you make me? And that's different. I mean, it's different. People say, oh, this has been going on in college football for years. Kids always have their hands out. Nah, it's different now. You can actually talk about it. You can have a meeting, over, a boardroom table with coaches and ask that question and have a plan, put out for you in PowerPoint. But it to me, NIL devalues the work that coaches do to recruit these kids. Everything with Nico is, the $8 million or whatever made up number is out there, because I don't believe these numbers at all. And it devalues the job that the staff did and Heupel did in recruiting this kid from California to choose Tennessee. Now it's all about, well, Tennessee gave him the most money. And then you see Jaden Rashada, choosing Miami over Florida, and his agent, or whatever you want to call him, goes on record and says that he turned down more money from Florida, and that's all garbage. And, you just don't know what lies are out there, because now you've got agents in the world of college football recruiting, and agents' job is to lie. We've seen that, in coaching searches, and it's just, that's how it is. That's part of the negotiation. So to me, NIL is a big part of it, but at the core, a kid's not going to choose a school he doesn't like just for promised money, so getting a Nico from Long Beach, and you notice I avoid his last name as much as possible. It's huge.
Same.
It's huge. It's really a great job by the staff, and the endless hours they put in to work on this is just devalued immediately because of one number that's thrown out there. And now you see all these, videos. Oh, this is, Nico's out there throwing passes in 7-on-7 in pajama pants and a winter hat, or so. He's a very quirky kid. This is the $8 million quarterback. And then everybody turns it into a joke because he's 6'5". He's about 100 pounds soaking wet. And they're like, this kid's making $8 million. It turns it all into just more ridiculousness than it should be, I think.
Do you think that coaches feel? So I've heard that there are some coaches out there that hate the NIL, that even though they come out and say like, "Oh yeah, we support this," blah blah blah, but they hate it. What have you heard about that?
Every coach hates it. Everyone. There's not one coach who likes it. Period. They can't say that publicly. Dabo gets so much fire at Clemson because he disagrees with it. And it's hurt his recruiting because he's been honest. Every coach hates it. And it's not because they don't want the kids to make money. It's what the circus is surrounding it now. Before it used to be you had to recruit the mom, the dad, the crazy uncle, the brother, and the 7-on-7 coach and the high school coach. And now you got to recruit the agent, or the business manager, or, the brand manager or whatever. And it's making, honestly, I've talked to coaches that say, the first opportunity they get to go to the NFL, they're going, because this has become, with that in the portal, it's become unmanageable. And there's discussions of having portal windows. That doesn't matter. You could have recruiting windows. Right now is the dead period in high school football recruiting. Everybody's recruiting. I mean, you can't have them on campus because that picture will get out and it's a violation, all that stuff. You're not allowed to, phone and text 2024 kids or whatever. It's all happening, and it's happening constantly. And if you do follow the rules, then the kids don't think you like them, and then you lose them. So, you're on vacation perhaps in July as a coach, with your family, and you get a text message on the beach at 11 a.m. from a kid. If you don't respond to that within 5 minutes, you drop spots. And so it's becoming unmanageable now with NIL and the portal. And it was hard to manage before that.
Mike, great stuff. Tell us more about the site and the staff and what you've got up and running right now and what's to come.
Yeah, it's kind of simplistic college football coverage, I like to call it. It's like, if you want discussion points, if you want sort of lists, stuff that's just catches your eye and brings discussion. I did the top 50 quarterbacks in college football next year, which is a deep dive, right? You got Group of 5 in there, and you got Will Levis versus Anthony Richardson, versus Hendon Hooker versus everybody, and it's fun. It's fun for discussion. Everybody sort of can chime in. We're bringing message boards soon, which will be interesting because those are always a cesspool, but fun as well. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to dumb down college football, but I'm trying to make it easily consumable because the attention span of today's reader is about, 10 seconds. So you better hit them with something that they're going to be either intrigued about or angry about or agree about and then pretend to be angry about. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well put. We look forward to it, and best of luck to you. Don't need it. You're going to do great, and I hope to visit with you down the line, talk some more recruiting.
All right. Thanks very much.
Appreciate it, Mike. Mike Farrell. Again, check out his MikeFarrellSports.com. That is Talking Cruton. That's brought to you by our friends at Fassy Lawn and Garden.
Talking Cruton.
Am I right or am I right or am I right?
Who's on Tennessee's board? The names you need to know exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
You got to get up to Vassy Lawn and Garden where they can take care of you. Open 6 days a week, year-round commercial and residential zero-turn mowers. They have it all. That is Vassy Lawn and Garden. So as guys, we talk some Cruton, not a big newsy day yesterday in terms of recruiting, which I kind of expected. We had a flurry of social media, narrowing down some things. But that happened a couple of days after the big visit weekend for Tennessee and a bunch of schools. One note I wanted to throw out there, I had an opportunity to speak with Chris Landry of LandryFootball.com about Jakeem Jackson. He has narrowed down his list, 4-star cornerback from Osceola High School in Kissimmee, Florida. Said he's down to Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Kentucky, Penn State, and Tennessee. And
it's a big narrow.
Yeah, it's a monster narrow. Chris really does like him, and the more you look at him, I can see why. He's long. He's got that thin, wiry frame, and really the ceiling is incredibly high because he played receiver, but he's projected as a defensive back. So he played receiver about half the year last year. So I mean, Ethan, this could be this is the type of guy that Tennessee has to identify, target, and land because they're not going to get every 5-star cornerback away from Alabama and Georgia. It's just not going to happen at this point in the program. This is the type of guy that has a backstory that could have a high ceiling. This is the type of guy they've got to go after.
Yeah, it's easily, I think, the most interesting thing that happened the other day, him announcing his top 6 and Tennessee not just being in it, but really being right in the thick of things. He just came off an official visit to Tennessee on June 24th, obviously went to Florida June 20th. Just before that, both those teams are on his top 6, and he's from Florida, so Florida's probably going to have a little bit of sway in that, but like you said, 4-star guy, number 28 corner in the country. He's a top 300 guy as well. So this would be a huge get for a Tennessee secondary that has struggled recently, and one that's not going to get better unless you add guys like this. And Tennessee this season, I know in the 2023 cycle, they've got 2 guys as of right now, I believe Jack Luttrell and Sylvester Smith, that could legitimately do something in this class. Adding a guy like this, like Jackson, to have on the opposite corner would be huge.
Amanda, Alabama landed a 4-star wide receiver. He shared his verbal pledge to the Crimson Tide on social media via Twitter. And it just really, it seems like that Alabama just keeps rolling, despite the fact we have this conversation this time of year that Nick Saban could retire. But I did find this pretty funny. This is his statement. Okay, so this is Cole Adams, who, again, is a very highly rated commitment for Alabama. First, I want to give thanks to God. Without him, this would not be possible. I'm on board there. That's great. Second, I want to thank my family, friends, coaches, mentors, and teammates for all of your support throughout my life and through the recruiting process. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Great stuff. Good stuff. And finally, in the words of Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama.
I love it.
It's awful. You go from God to Leonard Skinner.
He didn't thank Leonard Skinner. He just said, in the words of Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama. That's just like any other kid that pledges to, commits to UT or whoever going, coming home to Rocky Top or whatever. He just called out Leonard Skinner. Good for him. Give credit where credit's due. And I know that they're all, passed away in the plane
Not
crash.
all of them.
But I thought all of them.
No, they lost a couple, but they kept rocking on.
Okay, I thought it was all of them.
I've seen Leonard Skinner in concert like 4 times. And actually,
so why are you hating?
I just went to go have a good time. But my wife and I's song is actually a Leonard Skinner song. You have a song.
So you are hating on this kid.
Well, but there's Skinner
is your entire life.
No, there's a reason. So I drove back from Florida when my wife was to have some sort of surgery the next day. We'd only been dating for like 3 or 4 months, but I drove back from Florida on spring break, and she was at a Leonard Skinner. It's 4 cell phones, Ethan. This is crazy, I know. But so there's no cell phones. I snuck into the concert, went up and down the aisles looking for her so I could see her before her surgery the next day. And I was about to bail and I was about to leave, and I looked over, and there she was getting the Diet Coke. And what was playing? Give me
Sweet Home Alabama.
No, give me 3 steps. So that's our song. Give me 3 steps.
Oh, that's
The worst romantic song of all time, even.
Yeah, that sounds
it's
about
up
right.
there. Up there for sure.
I saw a man who had a gun in his hand.
Great, yeah.
And I was headed down 44. No, that's so. Do you and the fiance have a song yet, Ethan?
Not as of right now. We have a whole bunch. I wouldn't say any that stick out. Not really.
What about you, Amanda? Do you have a song with the hubby? Do you guys?
Yeah, we got married in January.
It's Baby Got Back, isn't it?
No, it's not Baby Got Back. No, that's appropriate. Anywho, no, but I did sing that to my nephew to calm him down, and it worked. Anyway, he's 2 months old. No, we have this song, and I can't remember what it's called at the moment, but it talks about like how they first hung out, and he held her hair back as she was throwing up.
Oh, I've heard that song.
It was very fitting.
Oh, it's more
something by Taylor Swift would probably be ours. Just anything in the entire discography.
Man, people that
what
like
in the world
Taylor Swift,
is that face?
People that like Taylor
I was about to
really
say, how do you not like Taylor Swift? I don't believe you if you say you don't like Taylor Swift, by the way. I don't care what you look like, who you are. If you don't like Taylor Swift, there's something wrong with you, in my opinion.
I'm not saying I don't like her, but somehow I've avoided her just purely out of being different. Like everybody
You don't-
likes it, but endless.
You don't even have to like. I guess I had a weird parameter that you don't even have to like. You just have to like at least semi-respect. You have to like be indifferent. If you do not like Taylor Swift, I think there's something wrong with you, truly.
The fact that I know her name and I couldn't name one song, it means I respect her because she's gotten her. I mean, I really, you could play a song and I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Coverage. I like her music. Yes. I like that, but I'm not a huge fan of like her. I don't know, politics, but stances on things, I guess. But I like her music.
I don't like most athletes or celebrities in general stance on politics. But Taylor Swift coverage brought to you by the Mattress Place, 22 years on Chapman Highway, Marine Corps veteran owned. They are A+ accredited members of the Better Business Bureau. How about 225-star reviews on Google? So just simply awesome. No gimmicks, 30 to 70% off the top mattresses each and every day. So Ethan, where are we with our poll question? Because I saw it post, but I don't like looking at it during the show because I like to see how it molds and transforms through your eyes. So what do we have?
Yeah, so we've gotten a couple votes already. As of right now, people say Georgia. They would take over Tennessee this past season.
Yeah.
Okay. National titles mean a lot.
That's really surprising. I get the national title, but I would think people would have a different definition of the entire athletic department. But I'll give it to them.
Well, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, but I also see where I'm coming from and where Amanda's coming from. That the bottom line, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
I see what's that. Back in 2 minutes with This Day in Sports History, a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
Gary Viles here. I want to personally invite you to North Knoxville's newest sports bar and restaurant. It's Big Orange Phillies, located in Black Oak Center. And yes, folks, it's happening in Halls. Big Orange Phillies offers family-friendly environment with homemade meals and the best deli-style subs around. Billiards, darts, jukebox, shuffleboard, and cornhole, and a full bar. We also offer valet parking on weekends and during special events. We even have a covered back patio. It's happening at Big Orange Phillies. We want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare. This is Al's Dish Barbecue Supply, so come on in and see all the different rubs and sauces we have, plus the complete line of Green Mountain Grills. Don't be overwhelmed. We have plenty of help so you can produce the best barbecue and amaze your family and friends. Barbecue is America's food. We'll do what we can to bring you all the best products. We're Al's Nest Barbecue, where Chattanooga goes to grill.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
So this day in sports history is brought to you by our friends at Vols Automotive right there on Callahan. Vols Automotive is your home for fair prices, great service, and integrity. They have a great selection. They have a service department. They have financing. What more do you need? Vols Automotive on Callahan. So today's day in sports history, what do we got there, Ethan? Who we rocking?
We got a couple, actually, both on the same day in 1994. You can probably already guess what that has to do with. Pre-trial hearings open in L.A. against O.J. Simpson.
Oh, wow.
That's a pretty big thing.
That was the end of Larry. That was the end of Larry King living in New York. He moved out there for a couple of months for the trial. 2 years later, he just stayed.
Yeah, I would argue the next one might be even a little bigger for those who know. Also on this day in sports history, in 1994, same day, the U.S. Skating Federation barred Tanya Harding for life.
Awesome.
That was fun.
Yeah.
People don't remember what a big story that was. I think because OJ covered it up.
That's probably, I mean, when that is unprecedented. I've never heard of anyone attacking a fellow competitor. That's insanity to me.
The whole story, Amanda, of having some goon buddy.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen a lot of hangers on. Okay. I've seen them. They're really creepy. You know, Tyler Bray lived with a guy who was like 28. That's weird. So I've seen the hangers on, but to be a hanger on for honestly kind of a sketchy character in women's figure skating is about the lowest rung of the hanger on ladder that you can be on.
She wasn't at the time a sketchy individual. She was brought up in a back home and all that stuff, but at that moment he was hanging on to what he thought was going to be a legend in sports and just had enough of that, you know, brown head bombshell.
Nancy Kerrigan?
Nancy Kerrigan, yes. Had enough. Just took a knee out, right?
You know, for the record, I've watched a lot of documentaries on this, but for the record, she was actually the one that was the rhymes. Yeah, the B word rhymes with which. She was there celebrating her silver medal, I believe, is what she ended up with, and she was at Disney. And she leaned over to one of the PR people and said, I wish everybody would just stop smiling. It's Disney. It's Disney. If you're not smiling at Disney, what are you paying $150 a day for?
I'll tell you, I was at Disney and I did a Thanksgiving Day parade.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, calm down. Calm down.
Awful.
I was a really good cheerleading. I was doing a Thanksgiving Day parade because I was like a UCA All-Star, whatever the crap it is. And you go in the back at Disney and you see all of the costumes. Like, they prepare you for this. They have like a group meeting before you go back there to do this parade. And they tell you, okay, this is going to be traumatic. We're going to let you know. And I'm like, oh, it's fine. Who cares? I was in 8th grade. I was like, it's fine. You go back there and you see all of the lifeless, like, Eeyore and, you know, Mickey Mouse and Donald, and they're just like hanging there, and there's just tons of them, and it's like a shock. You're like, oh crap, like this is actually traumatic. I didn't realize it was going to be that way. So you're just kind of standing there like, this is very odd and awkward, and it gives you a sinking feeling. But anyway, some people don't smile at Disney is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's because they're probably mistreated. Not that big companies tend to do that, but Nike.
Never Amazon.
Yeah. So anyway, the series that the countdown continues, as I believe it was Whitesnake. Was it Whitesnake that sang the final countdown? It's the final countdown. Remember that?
I can't remember. I know what you mean,
Might have
but
been Europe. Google, Amanda. So where are
I'm
we in
doing
the
a
countdown?
Google.
Where are we the most important balls for the 2022 season?
yeah, we're going into number 8. I guess you could say we're getting close to the end here, but I'd say this is about when we're getting into the really, really, really important names. Number 8. You'll see what we mean when we post it today.
Oh, so is that a tease?
Yeah, I can't say who it is. That would ruin the point, I'd say.
Who was go through number 9 if you can.
Number 9 was Jalen McCullough, which I do think was a very important piece of last season that kind of withered out as the season went along. Led the team interceptions. He was a big playmaker, and he even said during spring practice that he wanted the rest of the team to really focus on playmaking and getting takeaways, interceptions, fumbles, forced fumbles, anything you want, because Tennessee really did not have that on defense last season. And so McCullough, I feel like, is trying to lead the way in that respect this season.
Steve Ray's Midnight Oil is a great place to get your car serviced if you're in the Chattanooga area, especially Ooltewah. And then right next door, we've got Alice Nest Barbecue. And Alice Nest Barbecue is phenomenal when it comes to any sort of barbecue supplies, whether you need one of the fantastic grills they carry or whether you need wood chips, pellets, sauce, rubs. It's all right there at Alice Nest Barbecue. And right next door, Steve Ray's Midnight Oil will take care of your car. Proud Michelin distributor. So, guys, we headed Europe. Europe was the group.
Was the group. Whitesnake was the one with the cherry pie with the girl on the car. So they could have gone to the car place to get.
Oh, I'm well aware. That was a Jaguar. Yeah, I'm well aware of that.
Okay, calm down. Calm down. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
I mean,
let's move on.
It was a different world when the Faith video by George Michael came on and the Whitesnake video. Things stopped because you couldn't pause them. Ethan doesn't even get this. You couldn't pause them and replay them. You did so.
There was no on demand or YouTube
or Googling.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't. I know there wasn't. I was not back there watching that video because I am not of age, but. I'm not 49. I'm not 49.
I had you pegged at 49. You're not 49?
That's awful. Why would you? I'm not even. Oh my gosh.
Check out our friends at City Heat and Air Integrity. They help bring you this and make it all possible. They have integrity at City Heat and Air. You're going to hear about other places that might just up and say, hey, I've got this, that, whatever, but I can do it for $29. But when it comes to integrity and somebody you can trust, that's City Heating and Air Conditioning. Go to cityheatandair.com. We'll talk to you on Friday. Have a fantastic day. Again, remember, like and subscribe. If you haven't seen the YouTube page, I just want to encourage you to check it out. Like and subscribe there. All kinds of content that drops that you see for a little bit on the site and then it's gone. Well, you can get it on the site, but you can also get it on YouTube. So if you like and subscribe there, you'll get notifications. For Amanda, Ethan, I'm Dave, a production of Off the Hook Sports.